Good morning, everybody. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Marlena Sinclair. I'm the K-5 math specialist. I'm very excited. A year ago today, I was standing here, only had the job for about a week, and I was very, very nervous, and I feel much better now, having a whole year under me. So thank you to everybody this year that worked with me, welcomed me, collaborated with me. Definitely made the transition much, much easier. So I just want to say thank you, because being here today just kind of took me back to last year. I'm like, oh, I was in a very different headspace then. So anyway, so we're going to go ahead and get started and talk about what's new with elementary math, because as you know, we have a lot of changes coming, but there are a lot of things that are staying the same and that are familiar. And so I want to take time today to make sure that I highlight all of the new resources with you, let you know what's staying the same, what's changing, also give you a preview of district-wide training and the work that we'll also be doing with your teachers to keep that consistency. So the goals today are that you will locate district math resources in the Resource Center and understand how these resources support a student-centered learning approach. Our agenda, we're going to talk about what's new, what's staying the same. We're going to do a scavenger hunt, so I'm not talking at you for 45 minutes and let you kind of engage with some of those resources. We're going to look briefly at the first 8 days, the mathematical mindset units, and then we're going to talk about upcoming PD to support you. So our session norms: honor time frames, be an active and hands-on learner, use technology to enhance learning, assume positive attentions, and the most important, for myself included, is contribute to a learning environment in which it is safe to not know. So a lot of the information that you're going to get, our team, we had to start creating these documents, these district resources, back in spring. And so as we've been getting new information with the adoption, with the new assessments, we've been making and modifying those changes, but we had to move forward not having all of the information yet. And so if you're like me, that's very much a struggle, because I need to know everything. And so not knowing pieces until yesterday, let's say for K2 Star Math and other things, like I've had to just be patient and give myself a little bit of grace if it's okay not to know, and we're all working through this next year together. So, old and new. So what's familiar? So some things are staying the same. Student-centered learning environment. We are not losing focus of our best practices, our instructional practices, the things that we know we should be seeing in the classroom. That's the same. Most math content is the same. So as you know, every time we shift into new standards, the math is the math. So yes, there are some things that moved maybe to a different grade level, or things are worded a little bit differently, but the math is the math. So at the end of the day, our teachers are teaching high quality math instruction to our students, and they're going to learn the content that they need to be successful. So most of the math content is the same. The Canvas Resource Center. So the way that the teachers access their resources is exactly the same. So none of that has changed. The flow of the math block. So while the flow of the math block has changed slightly, the template that we used and a lot of the main time frames are exactly the same. Our goal was we know right now that our teachers are going through a lot, especially with ELA and math, adding in social studies. So we know that there's a lot of change for them, and so we really tried to keep things as consistent as possible. Even if it's just the templates that they're used to reading and seeing, so it doesn't create, extra stress or anxiety that right now we don't want to create. So our calendar, our assessment calendar format is exactly the same. Our standards at a glance document is now called a benchmarks at a glance. Number routines are still accessible. That is changing a little bit, but our current number routines that were used this year will still be accessible for teachers on Canvas. We still have a mathematical mindset unit, first 8 days, except for kindergarten, it's 13. We are still focusing on the Pinellas problem-solving routine, and we still are going to be implementing our math-aligned STEM challenges. So that's pretty much what's familiar. And now I'm going to get into what's new. So what's new is our curriculum guides. So we had curriculum guides a few years ago. Then we kind of switched to, if you're familiar with a lot of the sample planning calendars, more of the day by day. We're going back to the curriculum guides. The curriculum guides we're going to dig into them later on in this session, but they're focused on the standards, and we need our teachers to understand the standards, the new MTRs. So it's kind of creating more of an emphasis on understanding the content as opposed to having a calendar letting them know day by day which lesson they should be covering in the book, sort of thing. So we're going to get into that. The best benchmarks wording with some grade level shifts. So again, there are some areas where the content shifted a little bit, and the wording, and we'll get into that. The MTRs, we are going to be doing a lot of work this year at Leadership on those mathematical thinking and reasoning standards. I went to a state training a couple weeks ago, and we got all kinds of amazing resources for leadership. You know, MTR walkthrough tools that you can use that I'll be sharing with you, activities that your teachers can do to really dig into those MTRs. The MTRs are embedded in the McGraw-Hill textbook. They're embedded into our curriculum guides. So that as well. And because I don't want to forget to say this, we've ordered a laminated poster for every teacher that they're being delivered this week with everything else that I'll explain. So they're huge, they're laminated, they're colorful, they're beautiful, so hopefully everybody will hang them in their classrooms. But we do have one for every single teacher in the district, K through 5. The Big M, the best instructional guide for mathematics, that is a 1 in between that. That is how it is written. So the Big M is basically a standards booklet for just the grade level. So if you're a 4th grade teacher, a 4th grade Big M has their standards, along with a lot of things that the old Common Core Companion had. It talks about like the coherence of the standard, you know, horizontally, vertically. It talks about instructional tasks that you can use. It kind of gives item types, item limits, things like that. That has also been ordered for every single teacher in the district as well. They are bounded, like really pretty, I think, but they look nice, and those are coming as well with the MTR posters. So the Big M should be something that is supporting planning. Again, as the year progresses, we're going to get into these things more in depth, but this is just an overview. So that's new as well.
Do the counts include ESE?
Yes.
Or ELL teachers?
Yes, we included, but I have tons of extra, so if you need any, if you send me an email, we will pony them right over. We ordered way more than enough. So yes, thank you, but we did include everybody. McGraw-Hill, obviously the textbook and digital platform. I know that other session is going on simultaneously. They've been running 44 sessions for us this summer, and we've had really great turnout at most of our sessions, around 25, 30 participants every single one. So a lot of our teachers are getting that training with McGraw-Hill. Florida Reveal number routines. So the curriculum has their own number routines, so that's why with the what's old, what's new, we have the district created ones, but the new curriculum also has their own number routines in the beginning of every single lesson that teachers can use. And then the flexible planning calendar, and I'll get into that a little bit later as well. So are there any questions about this before I switch over?
Are we using the Reveal number routines, or is there a choice?
It's a choice. So a big theme this year, and it kind of goes both ways. I'm excited about it, is going to be flexibility. It's going to be flexibility. So you'll see in the warm-up, we still want students to come in and get engaged with something the first 10 minutes, but we don't want to say you have to use this number routine, but we will provide lots of options. So we'll have the district number routines, we'll have the number routines through McGraw-Hill. If you want to do a spiral review that day, you know, it's going to be a lot more flexibility. But as far as the number routines teaching our core content, that's not going to be the case next year. So in the past, it's, you know, been part of what teachers needed to teach to cover some core standards, but that's not the case. Everything will be covered through the other resources that we have. Are there any other questions about this? All right, so accessing the Canvas Resource Center. So you don't have to create the folder. That's something we're going to have teachers actually do at DWT in the moment so we can get them to access this. But in a minute, you are going to be engaging in a scavenger hunt where you will need to get into the Resource Center. So if you want to pull it up now, you're more than welcome. But basically, if you're not familiar, you'll go to Clever, Resource Center, Elementary Ed. For the purpose of today's session, I'm going to ask that you click on second grade math. That's just kind of the examples I have throughout the presentation are second grade, but it's the same in all of the grade levels. But for today, if you could focus on second grade, that would be helpful. And then you'll click on math. And so if you want to create a folder on your device where you can save math, you don't need to, but we are going to have teachers at DWT do that right then and there so they don't have to continuously go into Clever all the time. Okay, so everyone should have this document in front of them. This is going to be a little scavenger hunt that I'm going to ask that you all work on. And basically, I'm going to give you 10 minutes, and you're going to be in the second grade math resource center, and it's a new setup from last year. So some of the stuff's the same, some of the stuff is different. And so what I'm going to ask that you do, and you can work with a partner, you can work on your own, it's up to you. If you will go ahead and fill out this scavenger hunt as you're looking through the resources. On the left-hand side, you can write any questions, any notes, anything that you want to have, trying to incorporate some AVID strategies in there for you. But we're going to go ahead and give you about 10 minutes to work on this, and then we're going to dig into each of the documents that you're looking at in more depth. So I'm going to go ahead and start the timer for you. And you guys can talk and work together. Thank you, everybody, for engaging with that. We are going to dig into those resources now in more detail and more depth, but I wanted to give you a few minutes to explore. So I know this is hard to see, but this is the answer key. So number one is professional development. That's the button that leads you to training resources and flyers. So anything that we advertise for elementary math will be updated in that button for teachers to have access to. The curriculum resources button leads you to your grade level curriculum guide and additional standards-based unit resources. The recommended blocks of time. So you can see on here we have K3 recommended, 10-minute warm-up, 45 core, 20 intervention, 3-5, 10 minutes, 50 and 20. Number 4 is a total of 3 benchmark assessments. We are going to get into all of those details in the next coming slides. Number 5 is unit assessments are highly recommended to drive instruction. These are all the answer keys, but if you did second grade, it should be 27. If that's not right, let me know so I can change it, but that's each grade level. There's 4 areas of emphasis which are covered. That's your major work of the grade. They're just calling it area of emphasis with the best standards. And then here, a total of, should be 4 math-aligned STEM challenges. And then this number 9, each unit includes a unit overview, focused benchmarks from Florida's best standards, mathematical thinking and reasoning standards, effective teaching practices, suggested math tools, effective planning protocol, instructional resources, and additional standards-based resources. Anybody need any others? Yeah. Okay. All right, so now we're going to get into some of those details. And if you have any questions along the way, please let me know. So again, we are providing a recommended math block guideline. I'm never going to be somebody that says they must, teachers must follow this. No, this is recommended. But for our teachers who need a framework, this is provided for them. So if you're looking here, we have it into 3 different segments. Last year, our K2 or K3 was on a separate document. This year we just combined it into one template and we just adjusted the minutes. Obviously, if your school has other needs or you have other blocks of time that are extended and so on and so forth, like feel free to adjust this. Again, this is just a recommended framework. So we want that first 10 minutes to increase the engagement to the block. So you can utilize daily number routines. You can utilize daily Be Curious sense-making routines. Those are another set of routines that are offered with the McGraw-Hill textbook. You can embed spiral review on previously taught content. So again, we just want to get students excited for the day, ready for math, and we just have different options for them. One of the challenges this year is that we just don't have a lot of aligned resources yet to the best. So we don't want, page turners by any chance, and we don't want to just use the curriculum as the end-all be-all, but it is going to be the textbook, our primary resource for year one, until other resources get aligned. Core instruction. So for those of you that have already gone to McGraw-Hill training over the summer or the sessions right now, they offer 2 lesson choices for every single lesson. So they have an activity-based exploration lesson. This is going to be that student-centered whole class, lesson that promotes collaboration. The students are using manipulatives. They're engaging in conversations. It's going to be exploratory and problem solving with discourse-based. They also offer what we call like their PowerPoint version of the lesson, more or less, which is guided exploration. It's not direct instruction. It's not telling teachers, what to do. It's just kind of guiding more of those probing questions for students, but it's taking them through the content. So what we're recommending is to try the activity-based exploration as maybe option 1. But if you need to go back and do a reteach, or if you need to pull a small group, you could use the guided exploration to support that work. But again, those are just options. We want to make sure this time includes grade level practice. Practice is not bad as long as we're monitoring. So we don't want to have students practicing something incorrectly for 20 minutes. But if we're monitoring and providing them immediate feedback, then we need to have students practicing. And then exit tickets are offered for every single lesson. So McGraw-Hill has tiered exit tickets, which I personally love. So when the students take the exit ticket, based on how many they get right, it offers differentiation resources to immediately do. So it says, if the student got 1 out of 4, you're going to pull them in a small group during intervention. If they got 4 out of 4, here's an extension or an enrichment activity you can do. If they got a 3 out of 4, here's something. Like, there's so many options. So again, we want to make sure that we have that 20-minute targeted intervention time frame. Intervention should occur daily. So this isn't going away. We talked about this a lot last year, and the learning gain data really matched a lot of this work. So using those data PLCs to drive the intervention block, creating those game plans, that is how you're going to really have time to focus on your L25s, your learning gains for all of your students, including your level 5 students. This should occur daily. So again, this is just a recommended framework. These items are included in the beginning of the year packet. So I mentioned that all teachers are getting an MTR poster and a Big M booklet for their grade level standards. They're also going to get the curriculum guide printed through Unit 2. So we didn't print the whole year because we're building it out, but printed through Unit 2 with all of these documents in it. So they'll have this flow of the math block in their curriculum guide that is being delivered. And so I don't forget, I was told delivery of these items started yesterday, so expect this week that you should be getting a bundle of items for your teachers. Same with textbook deliveries. Those started July 1st, so those are rolling out as well. So everybody will have what they need before school starts, thankfully. So. All right, before I move on from this, are there any questions about the flow of the math block? Again, we kept the same template as last year for consistency, but we did change out some of the recommendations, and that intervention block, we have to make sure that that's different. I'm not going to get into a whole bunch right now with like Dreambox, but again, if you have students on Dreambox, there should always be a group with the teacher happening at the same time that's targeted, and there should be like a rotation, so the students might be on Dreambox 3 of the days, the other 2 they're working on a task or they're in a small group with the teacher. We definitely have no need for a teacher to just walk around monitoring up and down while kids are on Dreambox. It's supposed to be a time for them to provide that intervention. All right. This is hard to see, but I know you have it in front of you. So the assessment calendar. So this was like what I lost a lot of sleep over, I'm not even gonna lie. But, okay, so Ready Classroom had maybe 5 units or 6 units, and they were very spread out. You know, a unit might be 45 days or 30 days. And so we had these unit assessments that were occurring, you know, every 30, 40 days or so. McGraw-Hill has 14 to 15 units, so they're condensed. But it's not that it's more content, it's just chunked into smaller segments. So for those of you who are familiar with like biweekly or tri-weekly, like that's really what this kind of is. So every unit is 2 to 3 weeks. So it's overwhelming at first to see 14 units, but you also, every couple weeks, can do a unit assessment and get that formative data to drive your instruction if you so choose. So we have these unit assessments. This is a second grade example. I just want to like key in on this here. So our benchmark assessments are what we're kind of putting out there as these are expected. Think of these as the old unit assessments. So the best way that I've wrapped my brain around all this is, okay, there's no unit 1 because unit 1's the mindset unit, so that's why it's a little bit different. So units 2, 3, and 4, there's a unit test of about 10 questions at the end of every unit. But benchmark 1 is a unit test that covers units 2, 3, and 4 together. So it's almost like comprehensive of those 3 units together. And it's like your normal assessment, 15, 17 questions or so on. So benchmark 1 is covering the content and the standards taught in units 2, 3, and 4. Same with benchmark 2, it's covering the content taught in units 5, 6, and 7. So we're only recommending or asking teachers and schools to administer the 3 benchmark. So it's actually less testing than we had with Ready Classroom unit assessments. But the unit assessments are highly recommended if you want to think of those as the old lesson quizzes. So again, if I were teaching tomorrow, I would be giving the unit assessments personally because I would want to have a pulse or kind of a check mark every 2 to 3 weeks to see if my students understood the content being taught, and then I would use that to drive my intervention block for the next week or 2 and so on and so forth. But again, they're highly recommended. That's school-based decision. So if at your school the unit assessments are, you know, must be given kind of thing, then you have a biweekly, tri-weekly data for you. If you want to space it out more, you have the benchmarks, which occur October, and then December, and then February. And the windows are extended. We gave about 2 weeks because, again, we're trying to offer that flexibility district-wide. We didn't have the testing dates when we created this for fast assessment, so we just wanted to make sure we were giving that time. So, yes. No, I know there's going to be questions. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, just to clarify.
Yeah.
I think I got it, but.
No, I know.
So this is all separate from STAR Math and KU?
Yes.
Right? Totally separate?
Yes.
Okay.
So the benchmark assessments are not they don't spiral.
Correct.
So we only will get summative data for that summative window down there.
Yeah, so the summative, so McGraw-Hill offers a test at the end of the year that covers the whole grade level. If you wanted to give that, they get the content for the whole year.
So benchmark 3, which ends before spring
Yeah, it
break.
covers 8, 9, and 10, and then the
So we
summative,
don't have anything
right.
after spring break.
Well, you can do the unit assessments for units 11,
But we
12,
don't
and
have a
13.
benchmark to
Correct.
go over for 11, 12, and 13.
Right. But if you give the summative, it'll include 11, 12, and 13, but it'll also include units 2 through.
And
So,
are we giving these benchmark? Are we scanning them into performance
no.
centers?
So that's their thing. Okay. No, I knew there's a lot of questions. So this is how I wrapped my brain around all this. So in place of MAP, we're using STAR and or Cambium. So in my mind, it's like, okay, the teachers were giving, the MAP 3 times a year or the FSA. Now they're giving, STAR 3 times a year or Cambium 3 times a year. So that part is pretty much staying the same. We had, 5 to 6 unit assessments that the math department was requiring or expecting. Now we're saying you have 3. So again, it's less testing. But your question, can you repeat? Because I want to get back to. No. So again, this was something that we struggled with back and forth, and here's where Mr. Feeney and I ended. We had a lot of unknowns, so we didn't know what the new standards were, the new assessments, all these things. So we're trying to align curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And so for year 1, we are using the assessments that are in the curriculum, in the textbook. We want those assessments to be aligned. If we were to write our own, right now, we don't have a test item bank of questions. We don't have standards that have been vetted through the questions that have been vetted. Teachers right now, printing all the Scantrons off and all those things. So the way it will work is you can do paper-based or digital, but the students in grades 1 through 5 will have access to a one-to-one device. If they give the unit assessment digitally, that data is going to feed into what's called McGraw-Hill Plus, and that's coming, but it's very high-tech and innovating. So what it is every time a student interacts in McGraw, whether it's practice, an exit ticket, a unit test, a benchmark test, it feeds into this standards report to show proficiency of the standards. And so it's almost like synthesizing or taking all the formative assessments that a teacher is giving throughout the day and pushing it, pulling it into one place. So if we created our own district assessments, it would be more for my sake to be able to have it scanned into PM, but it's not going to actually help the teacher or the students see the big picture of what the students need to know and learn. Yes.
But now, as administrators, we can't sign in to see that.
So you will get access to see the admin lens of the data for the McGraw-Hill assessments.
They had told us that's a trade.
Well, that's why she said you can make it.
Okay, that's good to clarify. We're also working with, again, we're getting there, is to sync that data into Performance Matters so it can get pulled from there so we can get those comparative reports. But no, the plan is that administrators will have access. I'll have access, district-wide to see all the schools and all their data. If any of you get into Dreambox now and you can kind of see, it would just be going through McGraw. So no, again, there's pros and cons to both, but we're not.
Why do we have an option for paper-based? We should be doing it digital.
I would highly recommend digital, personally, but grades 1 and 2, they get.
For a school.
Right, so again, the teacher could manually put the scores in,
The first grade, the younger teachers.
the younger, yeah.
The teachers.
But administrators are going to take a computer-based assessment 3 times a year.
I agree.
Correct.
I personally have the message I've been giving is you go digital because STAR's digital, and you just do it digitally.
We had this last year, I just gotta remember, because
Yeah.
I tried to also do my site-based assessment of my expectations. So when I looked at that, unit 4, the start date is the 10th, or the start date. So they should start unit 4 by the 10th.
No, that's actually if they followed an exact pacing, that's the end date, but we made a window kind of going a little bit prior and a little bit after, knowing that, there's flexibility with that.
So that's the end date. So
Yes.
I put on my calendar that I need to just line up that whole clock that Phoebe gives us that says benchmark assessment will be due 10/18 versus 10/24 because maybe that lines up with the.
Yes.
I know that they should have been done by 10/10.
Yes. And we added all of these dates to that calendar Cherie makes for administrators. We went ahead and put in every grade level, every date, unit and benchmark, so you would have them for planning purposes. But it's a lot, but it's not. It's more units, but it's chunked. And each unit spirals, so there is spiral review embedded in, which is another pro of the program. But yes, so that's where we're at right now. Yes.
So I understand.
Yeah.
You mentioned the unit spiral in the curriculum, but these tests don't test the questions in a spiral way. Like they don't.
Right. Right. So we're following.
The lesson unit
Yeah.
includes spiraling as far as practice,
Yes.
but it does not test previously taught spiral.
Right, not for the assessment. So this gets into the next part. So we're following, basically, we're not shifting units around. We're following the scope and sequence of McGraw-Hill year 1. So for every grade level, this is our benchmarks at a glance, and I know it's a lot, but what we did is we looked at, okay, Unit 1 mindset unit. Unit 2, place value to 1,000. So this is the Unit 2 in McGraw-Hill, and these are the standards that are taught. Unit 3, Unit 4, and so on. So we did not change the order. The only grade level we moved a few things around was in kindergarten, because that was just recommended from early childhood as far as some geometry pieces going together and so on. But the scope and sequence is following the textbook. So again, year 1, we're aligning curriculum instruction and assessment. This is also in the beginning of the year packet. So the target date on the calendar should say Unit 13, May 5th, Unit 12, April 21st. That would be like the end date. And then each one of these is a grade level. Okay, we also have on here STEM challenges and like where they align. I'm gonna go a little quickly for time, make sure I get through all this and then I'll. Okay, so this is kind of a lot, but this is important. So the way that the Resource Center has been updated now, so the information that you did on the scavenger hunt, is everything is going to be in the curriculum guide. If the teacher downloads the curriculum guide and they click on any of the links, it's gonna take them to Canvas and mirror the exact same page, so they have all their resources accessible in one place. This is the part I wanna point out though. This unit is 12 days, but there's only 7 lessons in the textbook. That's intentional. We don't want page turners. We want teachers that are teaching the standards. So we built in a cushion right now of 5 days for, let's say you give the assessment and you still have 4. You can do the STEM challenges. You can take a small group reteach day. You can do an activity, an exploration task. You can just do, small group instruction, differentiation, whatever the teacher feels the students need. So every unit is cushioned by several days to allow for that flexibility. So that is intentional. So just to come back really quick here, so these numbers of days listed, that says 13, there may only be 8 or 9 lessons in the book. Again, this is gonna be an RPD in our training and everything we're gonna be doing with teachers is to support that planning, and we're providing more than enough additional supplemental resources for them to use on Canvas. But again, this is kind of where we're going with this. So unit pacing intentionally includes more days than there are lessons in the Florida Revealed textbook. Again, the message is it's our primary resource, but we're not just teaching from a textbook, we're teaching standards. Recommended activities to use on the additional days. There's a readiness diagnostic for the unit. Those are the old prerequisites, so they have them already created in McGraw-Hill. There's a math probe that's included in each unit. There are tons and tons of differentiating activities. That was one of the main positive feedback when the teachers were doing the textbook adoption process, was all the options that they had. There's activity cards, reteach lessons, there's math games. We have additional standards-based resources on Canvas. We have our STEMS challenge, we have robotics, and then of course there's the unit assessments. So we are going to make sure we provide more than enough for teachers, but it is going to be more of a choice board for them. Are there questions on that?
So the days are just the lessons, doesn't include the diagnostics, so you're.
Right. Well, which number of days? Sorry.
Well, no, you give the days that has those, the cushions already in there.
Yes.
So then there's the lessons. So I was just thinking about the diagnostic piece and everything. You're
Yeah.
just building those in.
Yes, those are being built in. So I know, because I was looking quickly at the time, are there any other questions about some of this information? I know it's a lot. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So I'm down to, All right, so this is the part we're really, really excited about, is the resource center organization. So what we're building is for every unit, we will have this. So you already went through the curriculum guide when you did the scavenger hunt. In the curriculum guide, there's a section that says additional standards-based resources. This is what we're providing for teachers to fill in those cushion days that we're giving. So again, if there's a 12-day unit and there's only 7 lessons, what are you doing with the remaining days? We're providing that for teachers, again, that choice board of options. But what we did here is everything is going to be hyperlinked into the resource center. So this right now, and again, we were building this, back in the end of the school year, so we're updating this, but each unit will be done 2 to 3 weeks prior to the unit beginning. So we're done, units 1 and 2 are completed already, and then we'll be moving forward from there. So on here, if the teacher has the curriculum guide and then clicks the link, it's going to take them here where they can download every single resource. And as you can see, it mirrors. So here it says grade 2, routine for base 10 blocks, PowerPoint. Here's the PowerPoint hyperlinked. Here it gives the, daily intervention, resources. We're linking them right here. So as the year progresses and we get more into what planning should look like, that Big M document and the curriculum guide should be with teachers in every planning session. Like they should have their curriculum guide in front of them and they should have their Big M, and then that's going to support that work for them. Other questions on that? Okay. Planning protocol. Again, this is an overview today, but one of the leadership sessions, I really want to make sure that we dive into this so we're all kind of speaking a consistent message. This is in the curriculum guide. We also hyperlinked the Big M. So again, the teachers will have a hard copy. It's also hyperlinked in that curriculum guide. Our evening collaborative planning hubs that we're offering are going to be following this protocol. If you're at a school and you have a math coach or you already have teachers that have an effective planning protocol that works for them, please continue that work. We're just providing a planning protocol for those who don't know where to start or can't come to the evening planning hubs. We want to make sure that they have a protocol. So we're advising them, look, if you're on Unit 2, take the Unit 2 assessment. Review the planner and overview in the teacher edition. Study the benchmarks of focus in the Big M. Here's guiding questions you should be hearing in planning. What do we want all students to learn? What evidence will we collect to demonstrate understanding? What misconceptions will surface? So on and so forth. So this is going to be in the planning guide, the curriculum guide for every single unit. This is going to be driving our evening collaborative planning hubs. This is work we're going to be doing with coaches. Again, there are a million planning protocols out there. So if you already have one for your school that works, please, by all means. This was just put together, kind of pulling best pieces from different protocols that myself and the team have experienced and used. It's just a guide. We want teachers who can't come to planning to still have the information. So that's that. So kind of wrapping up, all important year-long resources are included in the document, the curriculum guide. The math block, the assessment calendar, benchmarks at a glance, unit overviews with the resources, and the planning protocol. And then I'm just going to breeze through this. MTRs, you guys have seen them, heard about them. We're going to be doing a lot of work. They're replacing the standards for mathematical practices. We're still going to be encouraging the Pinellas problem-solving routine for student-centered learning. Unit 1 is already done. It's been printed. That's also being delivered for teachers. So during DWT, they're going to review this. And last, and I'm down to 2 minutes, our upcoming PD, we have a lot. So we decided to kind of change the way we were doing things a little bit. So we're going to have collaborative planning hubs that are 2 hours long that are going to be focusing on that planning protocol. We are offering a South County location in addition to admin. So every single one of these trainings and the flyers in your folder, there's a location at admin and there's a location in a school in South County as well. We want to make our collaborative planning more accessible to all of our teachers, especially teachers that can't make it up to admin, whether they have an extended block at their school or they are driving from Bay Point, let's say. I mean, we want to make sure that all of our teachers have the opportunity to go to the unit rollouts. We also have Math Foundations PD. This is going to be that content PD. This is going to be the vertical alignment of the standards. So if you come to K5 place value, what you're going to do is you're going to actually put your hands on the math and see this is what place value looks like in kindergarten, first grade, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And we're doing that, and we chunked as best we could, adding and subtracting whole numbers, K3, multiplying, dividing, 3 through 5. Our goal is for teachers to do the math and get that vertical alignment piece. And then we still have our STEM challenges that we're going to be embedding a lot into core, and we have that. So that was a lot of information. Thank you.